Okay. Right. So there was something. Remember, I told you when I was introducing myself, I felt there was something I was forgetting. I now remember what it was that I was forgetting. And it was sparked by one of the questions that one of your colleagues presented to me in the break, right? Around answering questions in assessments and so forth, right? And one of the things that was shared is that obviously the way we answer business management or commerce in high school is very different from the way we answer questions in tertiary. Okay. Now, your previous schooling, we already tested, are you able to study anything and then just reproduce what you've studied? At tertiary, we were stretching you a little bit. We want to see you apply, which is why when we come to class, the whole idea is, even in accounting, whatever financial management, whatever lecture you might have me in, and I'm sure a lot of your other lecturers do the same, what we try by all means to not only give you industry examples, but also to contextualize it in the real world. Because we want you to be able to apply the skill set that you're then obviously getting here. All right? And now what I wanted to give you that I forgot to actually give you at the beginning of the class is my philosophy, especially my academic or my education philosophy or my teaching philosophy, right? And it's something that when I look back at my studies, I realized this is what I was actually doing. Okay, I only thought of that because now I found myself lecturing, all right? And it served me well. So it's something that I encourage and wish to share with you. And it's basically summed up by 3 letters. First one is U, and the second one is M, and then the last is A. Anybody want to guess what that stands for? What the U stands for? Let's start there. Hey, first time, understand. Number one, we cannot go anywhere if you do not understand. The second one, what do we do after we understand conceptually what we are discussing? What do we do? Make sense of it. Okay, that's quite closely linked to understanding, isn't it? But remember, you still have an exam that you need to go and write, a test that you need to go and write, an assignment that you need to write. You need to. You're training on it though. Yeah, you can't memorize it. You need to start to master. Does it make sense? So I give you the formula, I teach you what the formula is used for, but it doesn't end there. You need to go and practice question after question after question. Does that make sense? All right? Even from business management, you need to go and look at different questions. How can they bring this question on? What are the 6 customer important operations? Quality. I remember there was no cost. There was, you see what I'm saying? You need to now master those 6 steps. And you do that by doing question after question after question. Then you know, oh, these are the key things that I need to know. And if I know these and understand it already, then I can also then put down the information, expand on the answer. Because we're not just going to say list stuff, right? List this and then explain. If you don't understand, how are you going to explain anything? Okay, so the second thing is master. Then this last one, this is where we are now playing. Because you've been doing understanding and mastering your whole life. But now, in tertiary, this is where we're now playing. What do you think the A stands for? Apply. It stands for apply. And the reason why we're so focused on this is because not only just for the exams, because remember in the exam, we are going to not just ask you to regurgitate, but we're going to give you case studies, for instance, right? But also in the working world, right? We want you to be able to go there and say, I'm an IIE student and I'm about to show up over here. I'm going to, do something of value, all right? So that you obviously hold our institution with pride. With pride. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to quickly go over that I was forgetting to take you guys through. But now going back to our lecture, right? Going back to our lecture. We're now looking at operations design, okay? And what I love about this image is that it not only looks at the design of processes, right? But it also looks at the design of the product and service. And we spoke earlier about how relevant operations is. Because earlier we were talking about how it's not enough to just have a customer and a product. We need to understand how do we get the product to the customer, right? Do we have an actual clothing store in mainland, or do we just operate solely online through what? Shopify. And if we operate through Shopify, how do things get delivered? How do things get manufactured? So whilst you're actually developing your product, you should also be thinking of your design of the process. And operations is dealing with the integration of those two things. There you can see it says integration of the design of products or services and the processes to manufacture or provide them. Can you see that? So here, when we're looking at the design of a product or a service, you can see there's the idea, the concept. Then we go on to screening process, okay, of the ideas. We're screening. Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? And obviously, we toss away the bad and we keep the good. That's screening. Then preliminary designs. Maybe you just drop something on a piece of paper, all right? But then we now need evaluation and improvement. How do we do that? We further investigate. Okay, is this practical? Can it work? All right? Is there improvements? Is there more we can speak to that will satisfy the customer? But then we can't just end with discussions and so forth and all sorts of case studies and who knows what else research we do. We then now need to produce a prototype. Prototype, we take it to market and we say, what is market telling us about our product? And with that feedback, you then come up with a final design, okay? But this is not happening in isolation. Your operations design is also looking at how are we designing the supply network, all right? Supply network, here we're talking about let's say the raw materials that we need to produce our product, right? Then layout and flow of manufacturing or service facilities. How are we going to structure the different venues across the campus, right? Where are students going to enter in from? Where are students or lecturers going to exit? All right? Application of process technology, okay? This is probably relevant to any business today. There's some level of technology that's needed. So how is the technology going to assist in the delivery of the product or service? Then job design and work organization. And this is where we're talking about what work needs to be done, right? And then obviously, how are we designing the process in which the job is done? You mentioned it again earlier. What was it? Something operations process. SOP. Mm-hmm. What was the S again?
Standard operating procedures. But there's a new system now being employed by all corporates.
Yes.
SNOP.
SNOP.
Yeah, it launched about 18 months ago. All big corporate companies, especially in manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah. It serves an operational plan. It's become a faculty of school.
Okay. I'm not even going to pretend like I know what she's looking at. Okay, but you know, this is the thing that I must warn you about. Academics is obviously always a little bit behind what's actually happening in industry, isn't it? And this is why the focus should be on gaining the skills, because once you get to industry, it's almost like you're somewhat behind. Does that make sense? But because you have the basic skills, you can still offer value, right? Just in case some of you are thinking of dropping out on me, please stay here. All right, so let's go on. Remember, guys, we're not going to go through everything. Okay. We're not going to go through everything today, so do not be alarmed. Okay, so here now they're just continuing the design of products and services operations managers are not solely responsible for the design of a product or service. So you would probably have a collaboration. You would work with obviously those who would conceptualize the product. At the same time, operations will also then be within that collaboration to say, is that practical, right? To only offer our stuff online and not to have stores where our product is on display and available for those who are walking past who never thought about our brand, right? Who never visited Shopify, but because they were in mainland, they were like, oh, that's some interesting looking fitness gear. Let me have a look-see. And by chance, they actually purchase, okay? So, indirectly responsible for providing the information and advice on which the ultimate success of the development and manufacture of the product or service depends, okay? Which is what we've just spoken to. Okay. Then here they're talking about the components of products and services, and 3 interdependent components is that obviously of the concept of the product, package composition of products and services or all services, and then the process for creating the package. Okay, right. Okay, then here they're talking about the stages in the design of products and services. To obtain a full detailed specification, a number of steps must be followed. Okay, so this is actually what we had on the model image that we were looking at. Can you see? It's exactly the same thing. First thing, concept, and then we ultimately have a prototype and then final design, okay? So they're now just obviously speaking to that, they are raising it, okay? Then I'm sure again there should be more detail in your textbooks, okay? The design of operations processes, okay? So again, now they're talking on the other side, all right? And this is what we are actually more interested in. Design of operational processes to manufacture products or provide services is just as important as the design of products or services themselves. Okay, we could very well what? Produce an awesome product but fail to get it to the customer, all right? Or have the efficient operations in place to obviously satisfy our customer, all right? So the things that happen outside of the product are just as important as the product itself. Otherwise, we can't, somebody mentioned something about a loop. We can't complete the loop. Does that make sense? Okay? Then, helps to determine precisely what the inputs for the specific operational processes are, as well as the customer client needs that have to be satisfied. Guys, I've tried quite a few entrepreneurial ventures, and yeah, it hasn't been so nice. Yeah? Those of you who have ever heard entrepreneurship is tough. Hey, example 101, right? And what am I going with that? You know, when I started reading this unit, I was actually understanding where some of the pitfalls that I've experienced may have been. There was no operations involved, no sitting down and saying how exactly, what inputs are needed. You just jump straight into it and say, let's get vending machines and place them in working environments. There was no assessment to say what inputs are going to be required in order for this business to actually really deliver, right? And so sometimes it's really, you might have a great idea, right? And I feel that if we actually had time to look at the operations element of it, we really would have had a go at whether this product is actually solving a problem for potential customers or not. Because sometimes you fail before you even begin. Does that make sense? Because you haven't fully assessed the inputs needed. All right. So again, I guess with that, I'm really just emphasizing the importance or the relevance of operations. Okay. Then going on, it says here, the layout and flow of manufacturing and service provision facilities. Okay, we can actually even just end it off on that in terms of this slide. Okay, so here again we've spoken quite a bit in terms of okay, where are we going to enter in on the campus? Where are the lecture halls going to be? Where is the basketball court going to be? Is that going to interrupt when we have something going on from a sports perspective, whilst others are in class? Those are the things that operations management needs to sit with. So you've got basic layout type, right, or types, 4 basic types. You've got fixed position layout, you've got process layout, you've obviously got your product layout, and then what cellular layout, hybrid layout, okay? And then obviously you'll get more detail from these when you read through them with your textbook, all right? So obviously as operations, we need to look into that and see how then can we best efficiently, with also the element of reducing costs, design the facilities, right? Or put together the facilities on our premises. Then here, obviously, they're talking to technology, the application of technology, right? And I think we kind of really spoke quite a bit on, and I think it's also very easy for us if we really sit with ourselves to say, look, we need to iron out how does the technology best deliver the product to the customer? How does the technology best assist us with our operations? There's something I wanted to mention here as well. I'm just forgetting. Okay. So I think just very important, process technology refers to machines, equipment, and apparatus used in transformation process to transform materials, information, and clients so that the products can be manufactured or services provided. Okay, right. All right. Okay, and then this is the last one. They're now just talking to what we spoke about earlier, job design and work organization. Operations management also focuses on people's involvement, right, in the operations activity itself. Job design determines how workers perform tasks. We were talking about what are the tasks that need to be done with the different jobs at hand, all right? And then work study, this is now scientifically, what has proven to work, right? And again, you need to do this not just, okay, there was a paper that said that scientifically this is how things are best done. You need to do it within the context of your business, okay? All right, to create those efficiencies and effectiveness, right? And then there is just another diagram dealing with the components of job design and work organization, okay? Right. And ladies and gentlemen, unless there are any comments, if there are any questions for today, we're going to leave that. Anything? Any questions, comments? Yes, sir. Sorry guys, I can't hear you.
Are we anywhere in the module going to learn about the psychological part of business?
I haven't yet seen that. But very well, because I haven't yet seen. So I'll be lying. But we'll see. I'll have your answer maybe tomorrow. I'll check.